All right, here we go. NBA Alchemy, December 3rd, Monday morning. And I'm going to get right into this. Like I always do, I always say I'm going to get right into this. I always get right into the shits. And I'm going to get into the shits now. The Anthony Davis to the Los Angeles Lakers rumors are picking up. What's dude's name? Scoop B. Robinson, NBA blogger, is my source. But there's other people that are grumbling about this. And I know exactly what all of you are thinking. Why in the world are the Pelicans going to trade Anthony Davis? Right? They're not going to trade him until he says he's gone. But you and I both know certain things in life are inevitable. Anthony Davis leaving the Pelicans is inevitable. So, that being said, why would they trade him now so soon? Well, if you could get a super package of young players, you've got to listen, right? You're not hanging up the phone. And the word is the Orlando Magic are interested in helping facilitate that move. And it makes perfect sense from their standpoint and their roster. If you look at the Magic, who are quietly playing well in the Eastern Conference, Vucevic, dominant at the center position. They've drafted young Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac starting to come into his own, and Aaron Gordon, AG, it's been incremental steps towards being an all-star type player. But they're all loaded in the front court, right? So who are they interested in? They're interested in Lonzo Ball, and I like that move for them. That is a perfect fit for that roster. A bunch of young athletic forwards that Lonzo can just dish and run with, right? So that makes sense. And obviously, this is just trade rumor rumblings, but I want to talk about it because it's fun. It's fun, and if it starts to pick up steam, man, it could get interesting, right? So Orlando would like Lonzo. So I got in the trade machine. I'm looking around, and it looks like what it would be is the Lakers would send Lonzo to Orlando. Orlando would send one of their young bigs to New Orleans. Now, does New Orleans like Mo Bamba or Jonathan Isaac better? I'm guessing they probably like Mo Bamba better, but, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I don't know what Gentry and that staff would do. They would get one of those young guys along with Brandon Ingram from the Lakers, and then KCP has to be involved for salary, to match salary, because the Lakers have to send out enough salary to absorb Anthony Davis's like $25 million, right? So it looked like, you say, again, why is New Orleans going to trade him? Well, if you could get Mo Bamba, Brandon Ingram, maybe even Josh Hart, and a draft pick for Anthony Davis right now, you've got to consider that. So then the Lakers, obviously, they lose some depth, but you get a superstar next to LeBron James, and Orlando swaps out one of their young bigs for a ideal fit point guard for them, a defender and a true distributor. So, I don't know if it has legs or not, but I just thought it was an interesting thing that makes sense. It's not wild. It's not crazy. So we'll keep a tab on that, right? Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this Los Angeles Clippers team. I haven't really shown them love yet. And the question is, are they for real? And you know what it kind of reminds me of? It's a similar team, maybe not as underdog as this team, but when Doc first started coaching down in Orlando, and he had Darryl Armstrong, and he had a bunch of guys that were just kind of, it didn't look like a great talent, right? But they fought and got into the playoffs. And this is a similar type of roster. This roster has more talent, but it just reminds me of a similar type of coaching job, a similar personality of a roster. And it's a really nicely balanced roster. I don't want to give them too much credit, because I think with the Chris Paul deal, I mean, they only could get what was offered. I don't think there was a whole lot of negotiating going on in that, but it worked out very well. You have to credit Jerry West with some of this. But what they have is they have a great balance of dogs mixed in with cool cats. I know that's a stupid pet analogy, but follow me here. You've got your dogs, Avery Bradley, Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell, right? And then you got your cool cats. You got Lou Williams, Gallinari, Tobias Harris, right? These guys are skilled guys that are very even-keeled and cool, right? And then the dogs balance them out. And so there's a nice yin and yang thing going on with this roster, as well as youth and veteran. But what's going to happen here is how they're beating teams. So the chemistry and the balance is there, but they're really just playing harder than teams right now. And come playoff time, I say come playoff time, so yeah, I expect the Clippers to get in. Now, are they going to be a top seed? No. They're going to regress to the mean. But they're going to be in the playoffs, and that gap of effort is going to close, right? We all know in the playoff time, everybody's going to pick up their effort. So there won't be that advantage that they have right now. It won't be as large. Because right now, Montrez and Bradley and these boys, they're just playing harder. And then you got Lou closing out games. Tobias Harris, he kind of reminds me of Paul George offensively. He's just buttery smooth, understands his size, and plays at his own speed. Probably not as athletic as a young Paul George, right? But and he's not the defender. But just offensively, he's smooth, so I like the balance. My question moving forward with them is, in particular, Montrezl Harrell. Man, I knew coming out of Louisville, I knew he was going to be a player, man. And, so I'm sure the Rockets are regretting letting him go in that deal because they could use a dog like that on that roster right now. But my question is his minutes just keep climbing, right, to almost 30 minutes a game now. And Doc is going to be tempted to ride him, the more and more the season gets serious because of his effort level and his energy and what he brings to the table. My question is, can he be a 30-minute-a-night player? Because the way he plays, Clipper fans, you see him taking the charges, holding the shoulder. And I just don't know. It's kind of similar to JaVale. Now, they're not the same player, but they're in the sense of they play so hard and so physically and jumping and falling around. You're like, damn, is this sustainable for heavy minutes? And so I just want to see where this roster is come April, because let's keep it a buck here. Gallinari, Beverly, and Bradley, all dudes that are, injury prone. Let's just be real. But I'm impressed with the Clippers. They're fun to watch. They're dogs. And what else I want to talk about is the Mavericks. Those of you that watched that game got a little spicy, a little chippy there. And before you ask me about Luka Doncic, and I know I haven't talked a lot about him, I am going to dedicate an entire video to Luka here soon. So he didn't play in this game. I'm not going to talk about that. I want to talk about some of the other things going on in Dallas. And Rick Carlisle, one of the best coaches in the league, without question. The first thing I want to address is DeAndre Jordan should be walking around Dallas in a ski mask. This nigga robbed Mark Cuban and this map that I have no affiliations with the Mavericks. I don't care if they're good or bad or none of that, and I'm upset. And Maverick fans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Did you see the effort he gave in that Clipper game? Night and day. So what? His free throws are better. That's one thing. It's an effort level. It's an energy thing. It's not the same DeAndre that we saw with the Clippers for all those years. He got his little payday and he's chilling. Oh, unless he's playing his old squad. So that's one thing I want to address. That's frustrating. And Powell, I hope, continues to take some of his minutes moving forward. Wes Matthews Jr. might have the highest self-esteem in the NBA, right? Like he has delusions of grandeur. And I like him. And I know, he's not the same after the Achilles. He plays much more on the floor, on the ground, right? But he really has a swagger. Like that boy think he Kobe. So I'm sure that can wear on you as a fan and watching Mavericks games over and over again. But hey, he makes plays. His belief in himself and his confidence, he makes plays. Just maybe sometimes it's a little too much, his swagger, if you will. And the other thing I want to talk about is Harrison Barnes, who's coming he's in a contract year. I want to give HB, the senator, a little bit of credit here, the Black Falcon. I can't believe I used that nickname. Don't ever call him that. But yeah, so his nicknames, he has quietly gotten a lot more physical, right? He's gotten a lot more physical. He's finally understanding that he's 6'8", 240 pounds, and he's kind of bulldozing people in the paint. Right? He's always been polished and fundamentally sound. And yeah, he doesn't have a lot of wiggle, but like he's finally using that strength, and it's going to be interesting to see what type of payday he gets, because he's right on the fringe there of how much you want to pay him. If you get him on a good deal, he's going to be a hell of a player for you. If you overpay, that's the situation the Mavericks were in when they first acquired him. So I'm going to keep an eye on his season. I'm always rooting for the former Warriors. All right, let's get into this Warrior shit. Let's get into the Warrior shits. First off, let's talk a little bit about Steph and the impossible standards that he set for himself. And shout out my guy on Twitter. I usually agree with your takes, but you know, he was complaining about Steph's performance, like, oh, he cost us the game, and you could make a strong argument that the Warriors beat the Pistons without Steph Curry in the lineup. KD drops another 40, right, and they just continue on what they've been doing, right. But sometimes you got to take a step back to take two forward. We all knew they would have to rework him into the lineup, but I'm going to take this off the sports grid because it's hilarious to me. Like, let's say you're a inspiring pro gamer, right? Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever it is, Fortnite. If you take a month off from playing, those fast reflexes of playing the game, that first game back, you're going to be off. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're unless you are a robot, right? It's going to be off. And so I think people need to appreciate that Steph's the timing, and it wasn't even necessarily his shooting. He was hesitant. It wasn't his mechanics. He was hesitant, but it was more the timing of his passes. 7 turnovers, right? And he was a little bit off, but man, if anybody's earned a mulligan, you know, we can't complain about Steph. I think the more important story out of that game, obviously, is losing Damian Jones for what it sounds like the rest of the season. And those of you that saw my last video, Bell versus Damian Jones, and I'm, you know, I've got to play the YouTube game a little bit, so I try to make, you know, you got to make a little bit of clickbait titles and things like that, but it's never was really that serious. And I had mentioned in my patron breakdown, like, yo, I don't ever wish, when I was younger, I'm not even going to front. When I was 18, 22 years old, I'd be like, man, I hope that fool gets hurt. I hope that fool gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? And now as I've aged, I've realized, man, you can't wish that on nobody, whether it's a player you just don't like, a rival, like, you know, the Rockets. Even when Chris Paul went down, I felt bad. I knew what it meant for the Warriors, but I also felt bad. So I never wish injury on anything, despite what I was saying about Damian and his disappointments. And again, I say this as obviously I'm not a doctor. Now, I've trained kids. I've trained myself. I've dealt with a lot of injuries getting older here. And this is the second pec he's torn. He tore the right pec in 16. Those of you that have read the story, you know, are aware of this, right? But I say that to say this. There has to be some sort of imbalance in his muscles up top, right? And probably something in the shoulder, something that's really tight or doesn't fire right and is putting too much strain on his chest. So I hope that beyond him healing with the surgery, they figure out where the imbalance lies in his upper body, because, I mean, that's an uncommon injury. For him to not be a bodybuilder or some sort of like CrossFitter or something and to tear both pecs at his age, it means there's some sort of imbalance or muscle that's not activating in his upper body, most likely in the shoulders or the traps or something like that, and it's causing his pectorals to overwork. Enough of my little doctor stuff. What does this mean for the Warriors going forward? When Draymond's back, you got to think Looney's the 5, right? Boogie is practicing 5-on-5. Go look at his little practices up on YouTube. I got to be honest, he doesn't look ready, right? He looks slow. It's not like he was a track star to begin with, but he's looking slow out there. He was like dogging it in the 5-on-5. So I don't know how far away Boogie is, but Looney's obviously Kerr's go-to at the 5 now that Damian's going to be out. But here's the thing about Draymond and his injury. Do we have time for this? I want to play a little snippet of this Draymond interview about his injury.
Holding up with everything with the foot?
Oh, it's good. It's getting better. So moving in the right direction.
Are you targeting any time on this road trip?
I was, and then they kept pushing me back. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope to be back, during this road trip.
Okay.
But the day I had said it, it ain't really going according to my plan. So that's what I didn't realize in this process. It's a little different. So, I had planned for, possibly be back.
And so you guys could go see the rest of that interview, but I show you that just because there was a tone, and he kept saying they and I had planned, and it's a little different, right? It's a little different, and I'm just curious. It sounds like Draymond's ready and he wants to get back. Obviously, new training staff in Golden State this year, Chelsea down in Atlanta. But I'm just leaving that out there for discussion because he seems a little frustrated. Obviously, guys are frustrated. They want to play. But just the way he was speaking about it, like, it's just a little different now. I don't know. I put that out there. So Draymond's they told him, you're not coming back on this road trip. So with Draymond out, now you're looking at Jordan Bell and Kevon Looney probably in the front court. at least heavy minutes. Now, Jerebko will probably start, but I don't know. Kerr's a wild boy. He's not as predictable as some of these other guys. And against like Atlanta and Cleveland, I think you see Jordan Bell start and Looney, right? Against Milwaukee, you may see Jerebko there to stretch the floor. So it will remain dynamic at least up until Draymond returns, and then you'll see Looney slide into and hold that spot until Boogie's back, right? What else do I have here? I guess people are asking, I don't know if there's a roster spot. Obviously, Pat McCaw's not coming back, yo. He's not. But is there a big that we can go and get, or is there? So the name Robin Lopez has been out there as a buyout candidate. Yeah, he fits, right? And he's rugged and big, not a spacer, right? But he would do what Damian did better at this point, right? He's a veteran player. The one name I'll throw out there, we don't have a lot of options, flexibility in trades. We just don't. If you look at the salaries and the guys, and you can't break up the core. A center that we're playing tonight, Dwayne Dedman of the Atlanta Hawks, is a guy the Warriors flirted with 2 seasons ago. I think he was on the roster at one point when he was coming up out of the G League, and he shoots the corner 3. He's a rim protector, and he's just a high IQ center. And Atlanta obviously going nowhere fast this season. I don't know if he could be acquired. I don't know how desperate the Warriors and Bob Myers will get to find another big. It really depends on how Boogie's looking moving forward and just how they play and perform. But, they're going to sit on the buyout market because they don't have a lot of trade options. Jordan Bell, there's one thing that and shout out Kareth Burke, the Warriors sideline reporter here. She was doing a Q&A this morning, and I had to throw out the question to her. She was asking for questions. And I was like, I want to know, can Jordan Bell palm a basketball? And I don't mean like how kids squeeze their fingers into the grips and kind of barely hold it. I mean, can he scoop a ball up off the floor with his hand? And I know you guys know where I'm going with this because you've watched him get more minutes here of late. And he's having trouble catching the ball. He really is. And I think it's meant. I don't know. I'm not willing to say he has bad hands yet, but, it's starting to look that way. I think he gets a little jump happy or over anticipating what he wants to do with the ball, kind of like a young receiver in the NFL. He wants to take off before he catches it type of thing. But I am curious if there is a physical hand issue, because if we look when he dunks a lot of the time, he spikes it so hard. He never does that big Dr. J type of scoop up and under. It's a spike. And that would lend me to believe that he doesn't feel comfortable gripping the ball. And a lot of explosive leapers, I've noticed also, tense their whole body when they jump. And so another thing that may be happening with him around the basket with his flip shots and lack thereof is he tenses his whole body when he elevates and the ball squeezes out of his hands. He's not able to keep the hand relaxed while he tenses his legs and jumps and hips. Just some food for thought moving forward as we get to see more of him. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this NBA alchemy up. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all. I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.